Hello, everybody. Everything looks good. I don't know why. With this new computer, I got this yellow bar for the first, 2 minutes of the show, and then it gets green for some reason that I don't understand. But it doesn't matter. As long as it works, it's okay. Cheers. We are on the air. We are on the air. I'll talk about that gift in a few minutes. So, hey everybody, welcome aboard. Hope that all of you are going well. And so we'll continue. Okay, everything looks good. Except that orange part, and that's always weird. So, hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave Radio Show. This is a show about radio. This is the live stream every Friday. The planet is waiting for me to arrive on Fridays. Well, I guess part of the planet. A small, tiny chunk of the planet, at least. Nice to have you on board, everybody. So, of course, this is a show about shortwave radio, about radio in general. We can go into different, aspects of radio, but we kind of try to keep it 30 megahertz and below. Sometimes we talk about other things that's more than 30 megahertz or higher, but, you generally want to talk about very low frequencies like, long wave, medium wave, short wave, pretty much all of that, and talk about radios, ask questions if you are new to the hobby, and even if you're an old veteran that's been doing it for 50 years, there's always something we don't know. I mean, nobody knows everything and nobody's perfect. That does not exist. There's people that are very knowledgeable. There are people that have no idea what we're doing. I'm sure there's tons of people on the week that actually stumbled upon the video and say, what the hell is this guy talking about? Is he really talking to people, or is he just talking to himself? Well, that's up to you to find out. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we are live every Friday at 20 UTC. That's 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So I hope that you enjoyed today's show and that we'll have a lot of fun. There's a beautiful chat room with beautiful people that are always there to help, always there to say hi. Don't be afraid to say hello. Some people are shy. They just I'm there, I'm watching, but I'm not going to show up or say anything. Some people, of course, are not set up with their account to be able to participate in the chat room. But it's nice to have everybody here. And super cool. So last weekend was a big weekend. I hope everybody enjoyed both shows. We had the show Friday. We had the CIDX barbecue show on Saturday. Hope everybody enjoyed that and that you liked our guests that we had. It was really nice to be there as usual. Time flies. It's like I was, that's what we were talking after the barbecue was over and the CIDX get together was over. Is how I arrived at the barbecue and the barbecue was over. This is weird, but life is like that. You just get somewhere. I guess that means that it's probably a real good time. It's probably having a lot of fun when it just goes at that speed and it's like crazy fast the way that things go. It was a lot of fun to meet Brent and Brian. That are both guys that are in the chat room regularly. See them in person, say hello is a lot of fun. So really, really cool to have everybody. And, it's a different show. It's a meetup. We talk. And I want to thank a few of you guys that send me emails saying, hey, you're amazing, when you interview these people. I mean, it's like very natural. And, you got people there. You gotta ask them questions, and gotta ask them cool radio questions, and know who they are a little bit. It's always fun to know more about the people that you actually either see, like, read in the chat room, or all of us. It's kind of fun. We like to have kind of a highlight of somebody and saying hi, seeing, and having that face, because in the chat room, or even the spoken words is not always the same. I mean, you hear the voice of somebody, and you hear that voice for months or years, and someday you see the guy or the girl, and you're like, wow, that's what he or she looks like. Incredible. That's not the image. I mean, often the image you have compared to the voice is so different that you're kind of, wow, okay, never thought it looked like that. And for some reason, our brain just makes an image, and often it's completely off. And you meet a guy and you meet a girl, and you're like, wow, okay, that's interesting, On the chat is another thing, because the chat, there's no feel. You don't really put any faces on a chat name. You put a face on a voice for some reason. But of course, you guys see my face all the time, which you may like or not. I'm not sure I like the fact that people see my face all the time, but that's life. So welcome everybody. Nice to have you on board. Another cheers. I have a surprise beer, actually 2 surprise beers that Mickey Dalmage did bring to me last Saturday also, including one that has to do with our hobby, which is kind of cool. And I want to thank him so much for that. So, we have an official on the air sign. I want to thank Brian Penny that at the DX barbecue made me this gift, which is really cool. He said there's something missing in your live shows. So he gave me this envelope with this inside. I was like, oh man, this is so cool. So I've got an official on the air sign. So this is nice. And I want to thank you, Brian, for this nice gift. It's really, really cool. And I think I let it turned on all week. I would do stuff in the office or in the office here. And I was like, hey, let's turn it on. It's just nice, especially when it's really dark at night, like it's nice bluish light through the room, so it's kind of fun. And I want to thank Brian Penny for that great gift. And it's gonna always be wherever I am in the studio, because I have that other side there that's still a mess right now, that I will go back in the next few weeks with do live shows. I will alternate like I did before. That side will be analog, this side will be digital, but that sign will be moving on both sides. Depending where I am, that sign will always have its place. So it's kind of cool, Okay, chat room, hey, welcome, hello everybody. Bobby Burgess from Morgan City, Louisiana, WA5107 SWL. Mark Cope from Dallas, Texas. Richard Cook, nice to have you here, my friend from the UK. Terry Cook from Montana, nice to have you here, KF7BQ. Kevin Wood from Nova Scotia, nice to have you here, my friend. Matambali in Colorado. Elton Byington from Baltimore, K3JWA. Redelva65 from New York City. Andy Colley, nice to have you here. Prasad Asoldekar, nice to have you here from India. Really nice to have you here. Pretty cool. It's like, what, 2 in the morning in India where you are? Really nice to have you here, my friend. William Helms from Florida, nice to have you on board. Kevin Wood, hearing that YouTube shutting down the chat functions sometimes in September. I haven't heard anything about that, Kevin. I haven't heard anything. It's not, I don't think it's the chat. They are switching off one thing, private messages that we could have in between the YouTube from users and everything, because nobody uses them. Actually, private messages needs to go away because it's the place where I get the most junk and ranting and idiots telling me all the time, to drop dead. That's why they're removing private messages. because you get tons and tons of crap there. And you end up not looking at private messages. I actually ended up having some viewers being mad at me because I didn't read their message. But I didn't read their message because there's so much hate speech in there that you don't even want to go to the private messages and see if somebody left you something, because you know that 80% of the message there are just going to tell you, hey, you're ugly, drop dead, you're fat, you're an idiot. That's pretty much what you get in those private messages. So you end up not going anymore because it's like, no, that's just crap stuff, and I don't have time for dozens and dozens of messages telling me to drop dead, And it's unfortunately, what the hell? There's a little fly in my beer. So anyways, I think it's just private messages, not the chat room actually. Calvin, nice to have you on board, and he's got some cider. Cool. David Arden, nice to have you here, my friend. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. Toujours un plaisir. Yes, beautiful on the air. Beautiful on the air sign, which is really nice. Kevin Wood is VE1 TV, of course, from Nova Scotia. Let's check it out here. Charles Williams, nice to have you on board from San Diego, California. Pretty cool. So it's really nice to have you here. Prasad actually set his alarm so he can actually wake up and watch my show live. This is dedication. Thank you so much, Prasad. It's nice to have that dedication from India. And cheers, my friend. Yeah, I did get the bath sorted, Calvin. I got a clogged drain here this morning. Really, really clogged drain. I mean, the water would just stay there. And I was like, what the hell's happening? What's happening? And I got an idea because I did something last night, and I thought, oh, I didn't pour enough hot water. It jammed somewhere. So I had to actually, go slowly, and now everything's back to normal. Free Saxo, nice to have you on board. Holiday in Budapest, Hungary. Wow, cool. Hope you're enjoying your holiday there. Sheldon Harvey, bonjour, hi, hola, yo, 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 ni hao, and whatever else. Nice to have you here from Greenfield Park. It was nice to be at a barbecue last Saturday. Man, time just flew. It was crazy. Mickey Delmage, nice to have you here. Driving through Saskatchewan. Can listen for a while, but might run out of data. No problem, Mickey. And thanks for the beer, by the way. I'm going to be enjoying that. After this, I'm going to be enjoying both beers. And hopefully you might still be there if you're not running out of data. Jason Francis, nice to have you on board. And nice to have you here live. Yeah, it is different. I mean, what's cool with the live show is watching it live. Because honestly, every time, there's, I watch the Twit Network with Leo Laporte, where there's a lot of tech stuff. And, I, of course, watch the shows rerun when I miss them. But there's something about watching live that just isn't the same. Being there, being part of the show live with people that are here and watching, and it's just totally different, absolutely. Dada Duden, nice to have you on board. David Arden loves it when I wear that shirt. Yeah, I like this shirt. It's a really nice shirt. I actually like it for those that wonder what that is. This is for Paul the cat. So it's a shirt for Paul the cat, which is Best Friends for Life, Jill and Paul, which I really, really, really enjoy as a shirt. So I really, really like wearing it. And it's always a lot of, it's kind of cool, Got my nice little kitty shirt, basically. This moved, actually, right? Yeah, let's put it like this a little more. There we go. So, no, it's always fun to have this shirt. Randy in Riverside, California. Nice to have you here. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And yes, that is a great sign. Thank you so much for the gift, Brian. I mean, it's beautiful Just love it. And thanks so much. It's really appreciated, and it will always, always have something. It's always going to be part of the show. Always. Wherever I am. Even outside, I'll wear it as a sign. I'll wear it on as a necklace. You know, like, that'd be fun. Okay, now I got an idea of doing it. Wearing it here. That'd be nice. Man. And it was nice to meet you, Brian Penny, by the way. Really, really cool to meet the people that I see regularly in the chat room. Great guy. Brian Penny is a great guy. I can tell you that. I told you in the live show, people in the chat room are great, but they're even greater when you meet them in person. It's like, you guys are fantastic. WOHP 1390, nice to have you on board. Rick from Ohio, W8PRR. Glenn, nice to have you here. Glenn Brennan from Toronto, Ontario, nice to have you here. Sidvik, nice to have you on board from Gander, Newfoundland. Bob T, nice to have you on board from Northeast Ohio. Hope your day is ending soon, my friend. You're still at work. Nice to have you here. Eduardo Montero, nice to have you on board from Rio de Janeiro. Nice to have you here, Eddie. Pretty cool. So, David, if you save some barbecue for me last week, you might throw it out. I don't think it'll be still good. Maglone, nice to have you here, my friend. Joe Rutman, nice to have you here from Chicago. Alan Willing, nice to have you here, Alan. Pretty cool. David Arden says, at least you don't have to look at my face. Hey, Olivia, cheers. Nice to have you here. Rekray, nice to have you on board from Turkey. Alan Willie is VO1001SWL in Carbonear, Newfoundland. And yes, even experienced DXers can learn a few things. And, there's always a side of the hobby we're not totally sure, I'm sure it'd be a fun afternoon if I'd spend some time with antenna experts. That's the side of my hobby that, I've not dabbled with too much. It's funny because I was eating outside today, and I noticed that my W6LVP loop, a spider, has made a huge spider web within the circle. And the spider was right there in the middle of the web, waiting for some lunch, basically, to appear. And I looked at it and said, well, that's one way to use a loop antenna. Karab Manukian, nice to have you here. Karab from California, KK6SEI. Pretty cool. Prasad says, my CIDX show was interesting. Came to know what various people are doing in their radio arena. And it is interesting, there's so much different aspects to our hobby. And everybody is, enjoying a specific aspect to the radio fun, honestly. So it's it is kind of nice to see all of that. Really, really, really nice. Has anyone shared a video on YouTube and then you checked Twitter and your video is mentioned by someone on there? Yeah, absolutely. I had actually. There's several groups that are sharing stuff from time to time. This week it's funny because there was a I did a top 10 thing on my channel with top 10 videos of my favorite frequencies and stuff. And I've noticed that many places. In a lot of the shortwave groups, my videos were popping up, and it's like, oh, this guy's videos are kind of fun, and they were my videos actually. It's it's always kind of interesting when somebody takes the time to share a video. Well, that means you're doing something right. Somebody's enjoying what you do, and it's kind of cool. Cyberflyer1, nice to have you here from England. Pretty cool to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? Eddie SX, nice to have you here, Eddie. VA3BUF from Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. Joseph Ivankovich, nice to have you here, W8JXQ. And enjoy the CIDX barbecue show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, private message was one of those things that you stop using. You know, at first you're like, well, you know, that's cool. People can send you a private message, or you know, I've been. That was one of the ways when I started doing YouTube stuff. That was one of the ways a lot of the YouTubers we would kind of get in contact. And but when you start getting all that junk, you're just like, okay, I'm not going to go and check that out for sure. So David Arden says, I may be naive, but I can't understand why anyone would send you hate messages. The world is not big enough for hate. And that's a problem, you know, on the internet is that place for that. I get tons of those every week. I mean, the cleanup you got to do on YouTube. If you know, the I left my, you know, all the comments available. People can comment on videos, but I understand why some people shut down the comments on YouTube. A lot of channels just don't want to have comments anymore because all you know, you get so much hate stuff in there that it's crazy. Now you guys don't see it because the setup, the way things are set up on YouTube, for me, is that I have to approve whatever comment will go through. So most of the messages don't go through unless you are somebody that if you are commenting regularly, for example, and I approve your messages all the time, after a certain time, YouTube will let it go automatically because they're going to say, you always approve that user's messages. That means they're always okay. We're going to let it go through. But people that don't post much, often they are blocked by default. And I have to approve them. And you've got a section where if anybody uses hate speech, it goes in that section. The AI of YouTube kind of knows what people and when people are bad. And if you allow messages to go through, that means you gotta. I spend a certain amount every day, a certain amount of my time, honestly, just filtering out and checking out all the messages. You gotta, because if you don't do it, I mean, you're gonna, you know, there's tons of crap in there. But the internet is the place for all of that to happen because people are behind their screens. So they don't confront you. They don't have you in your face. You know, 90% of the people that send you hate speech would never tell you that straight in your face. But there, hey, you're hidden somewhere. And that's the thing, because you're a coward. And because you're a coward, you do it like that. And that is, you know, being the biggest coward in the world. Hiding to say, hey, you know, I hate you. Or whatever, you know. That's the internet for you, I can tell you. And we all face the same thing. I talk with a few YouTubers regularly, and we talk about that all the time, and how. And sometimes you got to be careful because some hate speech we can actually track down to who actually is doing it. So we have names that I will not mention here, but we have names among us of who we know are actually trolling, because there are ways that you can actually, you know, the style of the text, the way things are written, you get to a point where, you think it's that guy? Yeah, it's that guy. Look at the style of his hate speech. And some of them, and you guys are going to go nuts on this, but some of them are from people that are actually very nice here in the chat room or in other places on the net. And when they are there, they're always beautifully nice and, oh, you are great, you're the best in the world. But they actually have that other side, the dark side, where they actually troll you and do bad stuff. And it's funny because these people, a lot of them think, oh, well, you know, you will never know it's me. But honestly, we talk among YouTubers that get the same hate speech from often the same guys. And we know who you are most of the time because we all have our little info. Each of us talk about a little something, and then we put one and one together, and like, oh, so that's that guy. And you just pretend and you don't talk about it. But crazy, the web is that place. Andy RC, nice to have you on board from Cornwall, England. Nice to have you here. Brent, it's nice to have you here it's nice to have you here, and it was nice to see you, Brent, in Brockville, Ontario, Canada. Brent, that you guys saw on the live show too. It was really nice to meet you in person. Another example of a wonderful guy. So really, really was nice, and I hope you enjoyed your time. Brent, we were talking about how meetups are always something a little particular when we meet up somewhere with a group. And the radio hobby, we talk that it's solitary, but there's more than that. And the hobbies, often we have that side of us. And I was like that for a long time. I would not go to meetups because I was always that weird guy. I was always the guy that, I'm weird. I look weird. And people must say, hey, that guy's weird. Or, sometimes you're just in your own little bubble and you're not interacting necessarily much. Or if you are interacting, you limit the interaction, or you're shy, or it's not always easy to go to a meetup, honestly. There's something about it that for some people it's a little more difficult than others to actually go through. And we were talking about that. And for a long time, I was that guy that would never go to meetups because I was like, I'm weird, and people are going to find me weird. But we got to go past that, because almost always when we think we shouldn't go to a meetup for some reason, we end up to the meetup and we have tons of fun, and we go back home and we're like, wow, I'm really happy to have done it. And I think that's something we need to sometimes push ourselves and do something like that. And the radio hobby is a solitary hobby. We talk a lot about it, and a lot of the people in that hobby are solitaire, are people that enjoy having their little man cave and being with their radios, and that's it. And sometimes it's fun to get out of that and meet people. And it was nice to meet Brent, and I hope you enjoyed yourself at the CIDX barbecue. I'm pretty sure you did. It usually shows. Mark Tuyet, nice to have you here from Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. Really great to see you here. Mark Tuyet. Calvin says, remind me of a guy I knew when I seen that gel. He had a metal bathtub and he stuck a mag mount antenna and used to boom out all over the place. Wow. There are these weird things we do sometimes. We do experiments, and you're like, when I stuck my vertical mobile antenna on the top of the metal shed in the backyard, I had no idea it would perform so well. And I mean, it sometimes happens. You do set up an antenna, or you're set up in some way, and you're like, wow, this works great. And you have no idea that it would work that great, honestly. Mark Elford, nice to have you here from Victoria, British Columbia. Any quick tips for a newbie wanting his first cheapish ham setup? Well, if it's for amateur radio, you know what? Get yourself a used transceiver. Make sure it works well. You can start out the hobby in a very cheap way, and that is you could look at the used market, and there's a lot of stuff that can be done today to start off in a cheap price. DX is going very well, Calvin. James Campbell, nice to have you here. USB or LSB, upper lower sideband, which goes the farthest? Both. will do the same distance. It doesn't change anything that you're in upper or lower sideband for distance, or it's really more of following the conventions of what people use in a certain band. Radio Week signal work. Nice to have you here, my friend. K7LNP in Utah. Pretty cool. Gilberto Manso Picorari. Nice to have you here. PU5MPG from Brazil. Nice to have you here. John McClure. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Bob T says, along with the on-the-air sign, Gel, where is the earpiece that would go along with it? Warrior to your producer, Paul, who could let you know when to fill his dish and let him outside. That's usually why he comes over here. Yeah, he turned my loop antenna into a cobweb antenna, Calvin, absolutely. Matt, nice to have you here from Colorado, W0MDK. Nice to have you here. Let's try to reach the downside of the chat a little faster, so we can be almost real time. Brian Penny says, ordered in XH Data D808 from China. Thanks for the recommendation, as well as all the cool videos using this radio. Can't wait to get it. You're gonna have a lot of fun. David Arden cannot get it. Why is there 109 people watching now and only 17,000 subscribers? That's the way things are. It's very weird. The number of subscribers, millions or whatever, and then their actual live stuff and views don't kind of match necessarily. It's a very weird thing, honestly, about the stuff there. Fishkoff, nice to have you here. What's the explanation of great signal reception upon turning on my radio, but gradually losing quality within 5 minutes? Using long wire in a Kenwood R1000. That sounds like... Now, okay, first of all, does it do that on every single band and every signal? Because you got to be careful. Shortwave being shortwave, you can in 5 or 10 minutes lose a signal depending on where it comes from, propagation conditions, and so on. But if it does that on every signal in pretty much every band, what could be having as a problem happening is that your Kenwood R1000 is suffering from some kind of defect, and when it warms up, the something in the electronics is going bad when actually the temperature in the radio actually gets higher. So it could be a defective part in the radio, but make sure that it's for everywhere, because you can't base that on one or two reception. Make sure that you listen to many signals and check out if it happens like that on every signal. If it does, I suspect your Kenwood R1000 has some kind of defective part, and when it actually boots up, when you turn it on, it starts heating up. Every radio gets warmer as you actually use it, and maybe it's that warm-up is actually creating a problem with some of the parts. It could be a capacitor that's getting, it's worn out. Capacitors are probably one of the biggest problems over age of radios and electronics in general. A lot of the capacitors will, go bad after a long time. They've been much better today than they were in the past, but still, capacitors can fail and have problems over years of use. And it could be some other problem, but if it does that everywhere, for example, tune your Kenwood R1000 to a medium wave signal that a local station you hear that's always there. If it does that, and within 5 minutes that signal is fading out, definitely the Kenwood R1000 you got has a defective part in it that might need to be checked out. Matt says the internet is where the powerless feel powerful. Yeah, pretty much. That's why you gotta ignore them, because that's what makes them mad. Dr. Sisop, nice to have you on board, my friend. Brent, hey Joe, it was great to meet you in person. Hey, same here. Same here. It was a lot of fun. Do a WWV check and a CHU check. Okay, let's check it out here. Let's try, let's start with CHU. So 3330.
20 hours, 35 minutes.
So that's 3330. 7850. Nothing on 7850. 14670 never comes in. Nothing there. WWV, let's do the reverse that I always do. Let's start at 2500, which is not going to make it here at this time for sure. Then we've got 5000. And then we've got 10,000. I'm hearing it on 10,000 and 10 megahertz a little bit. Not very strong, but it is there. And then we've got 15 megahertz. Where I'm hearing it a little bit. It's a little noisy today. Noisier than usual. So it's not very strong, but it's there on 15. And it's not there on 20. Neither 25. So that was the WWV and CHU check for Dr. Sisov. Tony Turtle, nice to have you here, my friend. Take care, Matt. Lee Burkett, nice to have you on board. Great show last week. I'm using my new internet radio. Cool. Cool. Burkett says Radio Romania sounds pretty cool. Cool. Elton Byington, thanks for the CIDX show. It was great fun. My pleasure. It's a lot of it was always a lot of fun to be there and meeting people and you know being there with people I meet every year. It's always fun. John McClure, nice to have you here, and likes my top 10 list. Cool, cool. Brent says great advice, Joe, on the fun of connecting with others. Yep, absolutely. It is. Sometimes you got to do it. It's not always easy. You know, I was part of that. I was part of that not being easy. You know, part where I would never go to anything. Hexan ADXer Keegan, nice to have you here. David Green, awesome sign. Heard Deutsche Welle today. Rocking 3 switches for dynamic monitoring at the moment. Got HF, VHF, UHF on a 996P2, a S200, and an RSP1A. And that's your man cave. Cool. I do that regularly. I often have the ICOM on the VHF, UHF range, the RSP1A on the shortwave range, some portable receiver on some medium wave or FM signal, pretty much. So PLF radio. Well, I was actually two things before I started the show. There was I was hearing the Civil Defense Net on 14902 upper sideband, and I tried because I was on. I got my laptop here. You guys don't see it. I've got my old laptop here with some shortwave pages open, schedules and stuff. And I noticed that there was a Norwegian ham on 14171 and tried to see if I could hear him, but I didn't hear anything on 14171. So, well, you will be pulling it off, David Green. I'm sure you'll have your ham license in no time. No time. PLF Radio says we are close to the 100th anniversary of WWV. Yes, absolutely. There are also articles on Shortwave Listening Post, a blog about this. Yeah, there will be a lot of special event stations and stuff to monitor for the 100th anniversary for sure. We're going to have to check that out. Charles Williams, nice to have you here. My cat trained me to sit on the edge of my chair. She's taken over the rest of the chair. Yeah, that is always something that happened. I can tell you that. Hey, Jay Jolie, nice to have you here. My friend Jean-Marc from close to downtown Montreal. And I guess we'll see each other tomorrow for the Mark Knopfler concert, and a few beers before, of course. So that's gonna be fun, and probably our usual Sunday beers. We're always meeting up on Sundays, having beers for a nice evening. It's always cool. So nice to have you here. Thanks for the comment. Simon Templar, nice to have you here, my friend. What else do we have? Yeah, in the RC, the U.S. Air Force worldwide net frequencies and stuff. Always fun to have all of that information and know where to tune around. Rob, nice to have you on board from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. What else do we have? You can try off David. You can. David Green says he wants maybe to start off with CW because he's sort of a hermit. You can try, if you don't want to talk, you can try digital modes also. You'd be typing on your keyboard rather than talking. There is a, jump. Some people are a little shyer to talk, and, like me, I'm very shy, as you see here. Yeah. I kind of, the funny part is we were talking about this, and I am kind of shy guy, but you get used to what you do. And you know what, David? Don't close yourself to just one mode, because talking might be a different thing. Go one step at a time and enjoy it all. It's always a lot of fun. Calvin says all them old Kenwoods suffer from them overtime from type of solder they used. Yeah, my Kenwood R5000 had a lot of problems over time also. It's back to working condition thanks to fast load, but it's always crazy. Always crazy. Worst part, Dr. Sissoff, is that they're not made in China. All of the old Kenwoods are made in Japan, which was where it should all be. So, hey guys, I'm going to open up a special beer. Look at that. Thanks to Mickey Delmage. That brought me this beer from British Columbia, and it's the official Shortwave beer, and I just put it in the cold. Scan through the static. It says here, scan through the static. So it's a 5.2% beer, and it's from the Phillips Brewing Company. Scan through the static and discover the Shortwave. This wireless beer transmitter features an uncensored malt body electrified with bright citrus hops with sweetness and bitterness dialed to balance. Enjoy this frequency frequently. I like that. So the Shortwave beer is what I am going to taste. And after that, of course, this beautiful can will be part of my background here forever, as long as it holds up. And here we go. And we will pour. Has an interesting smell. We will pour this beer. Well, this is a 500 and some milliliters, so it's a pretty big beer. Does it all fit in here? 473 milliliters, so half a liter. Half a liter. So let's wait for a second here, because it's got a little... Very interesting taste. It's very hoppy. If you like hoppy type beers, very hoppy. Interesting. Phillips Brewing Company, Shortwave beer. I like that. Scan through the static and discover the Shortwave. This wireless beer transmitter features an uncensored malt body electrified with bright citrus hops, with sweetness and bitterness dialed to balance. Enjoy this frequency frequently. Pretty nice. Thanks once again, Mickey Dalmage. Let's put this can here somewhere where it's going to be visible, like here. Let's put it here for now. We'll put it somewhere else and find its place. Oh, wait, let me check it out here. What I see, oh, over here, it could be like over here. Let's put it here for now. So, Shortwave beer coming from British Columbia. So like I was saying, all of these Kenwoods, old Kenwoods, are made in Japan. So they're not even made in China. And you know what? China is now much better than it was, and especially in the high quality receivers. I mean, there's a minimum of you know, there's a minimum of quality control now in Chinese-made radios. Cheers, everybody. Oh, man. What else do we have? Let's go down. Let's go down. Check it out. Thunderstorms, says David Arden. Sorry to hear that. PLF Radio. Hey, Solar Flux 65. Can't really get much lower than that, eh? I think the lowest I've ever seen is 64, so we are at the solar minimum, absolute solar minimum, can tell you that. Pretty crazy. So a lot of the problems of a lot of Kenwoods, I know the Kenwood R5000 particularly, that wax that they use gets mixed with the humidity in the atmosphere, and it creates an acidic goo that actually breaks down the circuit board. So what else do we have? Bobby Burgess, have you any NPR stations where you're agile and anybody else? I listen to I'm gonna make you guys listen to it for a second. So there's a Vermont Public Radio Station, VPR, on FM from Burlington, Vermont.
Do you support impeachment?
So here we are.
Well, what I do support is a thorough investigation. For some reason, the investigation seems to be moving very slowly, and I'm not sure why that is. Pick up a lot. They're not in session now.
I mean, are you concerned, given the pace that that impeachment inquiry has gone in Congress, that
so this
an impeachment
is the VPR station I get from Burlington, Vermont. As you guys see, it really packs a great signal here in Montreal, 107.9. So I listen to that regularly. I kind of like it, and they have the BBC News Hour. 13 hours UTC or 9 a.m. local. So I often tune it when I wake up in the morning for the BBC World Service. Jay Warrison 69, nice to have you here, my friend. It should be available everywhere. Having your AMP license testing online, as long as you know there's a time limit, so you don't kind of have time to cheat, but you know. Yeah, I know there's today, tomorrow, and I think, or tomorrow and Sunday, something like that, there's some tests being run. There's also a survey. WWV has a survey for its services that they want everybody to answer. So DE1DJK, nice to have you on board from Germany, my friend. Dr. Sisop, I don't get it now why the FCC is allowing non-commercial FM station and the commercial part of the band. This new Caleb religious station on 106.1 here in some areas, it's on below 92 megahertz like NPR. Yeah, you know. I don't know, David Arden. I would have to go and check that out. Matam Valley is getting 14670 CHU, Ottawa just barely audible. So, cool. What else? Let's check out if I missed out anybody, by the way. And DRC, Jill, shortwave beer, you going to market it? That would be nice. Have some kind of thing going with that Phillips Brewery in British Columbia. Does the shortwave beer have any good propagation? You know, you put the can on top of an antenna and it actually improves reception. I like that. Sheldon Harvey says, drink too many of those shortwave beers and you'll start hearing stations that aren't on the air anymore. Well, I took a 6-pack the other night and was listening to Swiss Radio International. Yeah. What frequency? Don't ask. Kimberly, K6YYL, nice to have you here. Shortwave Gazer, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Jay Jolly says, after your hoppy beer, you will be hopping all over the place. Oh, man. Radio Week signal work. Now that you have had your loop antenna for a while, what do you think of it as in the performance? It's interesting because I met with Fastload last night at the karaoke bar that I go to and had a few beers. Didn't have a lot of time to talk, but we talked a little bit about the antennas because he ordered the Chinese. So some of you might have seen that Chinese spin-off that costs like $60. That is an amplified mag loop, and we were talking about the antenna, and you know I was telling him. So I'll be very fair in my comments here. I was telling him that I am happy to have the antenna, but I was telling him even though I'm happy, I still have a hard time understanding that it costs $500 to get. Because I was telling him, I mean, it's well done and everything, but I was telling him it's very expensive, and the construction itself of the antenna is, you know, when you look at it, I mean, it doesn't cost that much to make. Now, I do understand that they're kind of made pretty much, you know, by hand almost. I understand that, you know, it's a very, and I'm not complaining. I mean, you know, it's $500. I paid $500. In reality, it's $260 something like that. Now, what made it expensive is the, you know, exchange and the taxes and everything. If I'd be in the U.S. and I'd get it, I'd paid $260. Plus the filter, so I would have paid like $300 for it, and shipping and everything. So technically, maybe I would still think it's $300 is still a lot of money. That said, I am extremely happy. It's not a miracle antenna. I want to say that again because you know, people talk about their Willbrooks and their loops and their whatever, and you have the impression when you start looking at what everybody says about these antennas that they are miracle antennas and that they are actually amazing and you have less noise and you'll be getting everything. And let's back down a minute here, okay? It's not a miracle antenna. The noise level I have here with that loop is still very high. It does not replace the fact of going somewhere where there's no noise with a portable radio and I see that I get a lot more signals. And that has to be understood because if you're going to dish out $300, $400, $500, you also got to understand that that thing might not be right for you. That antenna might not work like you think. It might work better for some than others. Here I got noise everywhere. That said, does improve upon some frequency ranges. I would say that if I compare it with my sloper, okay? Sloper's on this radio. That's the loop on that RSP1A. If I compare my 80 feet loop in the back with my W6 LVP loop, my sloper wins in some frequency ranges. I've noticed that 10 meters, 11 meters, my sloper has equal, if not sometimes better signal. In some areas, 19-meter band, my W6 LVP loop actually gets signals out of the noise better. But not enough for some of them to actually be understandable, but they are still better. Where the W6 LVP shines, it's very simple. Low frequencies. Below 10 megahertz, that antenna is amazing. And you know what? One of the things I was thinking is, you know, this winter is going to be cool because everything is going to be dropped down into the lower frequencies. And I'm going to get amazing reception of almost anything there. I mean, I was able to receive Swaziland in the 3 megahertz range, something I never heard on my sloper, ever. And I got it there, and I actually posted a video about it. They actually were at the end of the transmission. I never had 80 meters and 160 meters so well. I've never had 160 meters so well. I listen to these stations, they're booming in. 2 megahertz, there are some stations like some weather stations from Canadian Coast Guard weather. And man, I've never heard them so strong. So there are ranges where it totally kicks butt. It totally is amazing. There are ranges where my sloper is a little better. There are ranges where they're kind of close. So that's where you compare these and you're like, okay. I'm definitely happy to have it. And I do not regret at all purchasing the W6 LVP loop. I'm happy because I know I'm going to get a lot of cool reception in lower frequency ranges, which my sloper does not really do well. But that said, I still consider it's a lot of money. And if you live, and that's what I told Faisal yesterday. I said, you know what? I still stand in my saying that if you live in an environment where there's not a lot of noise around you, get yourself a $10 reel of 100 feet of wire, and you're going to have one of the best antennas, and you don't need anything else. If you would remove the noise around me, I would probably say loop is good. It's on par. It receives as well as my sloper. But if I had no noise, I would get all of those signals on my sloper. And a sloper can be done with, you know, any types of copper wire. And so the other positive point of the loop, if you live in an apartment building, if you live somewhere where you don't have space, where it's impossible to set up a wire antenna of any kind, well, the loop antenna is great. What is amazing about the W6 LVP loop is how well it receives the signals for an antenna that is much smaller than having 100 feet of wire in the backyard. So that's my take on it, honestly. That's my take on it. It's not a miracle antenna. It does improve on some frequency ranges. But if you live, like me, in a very noisy environment, you're still going to be noisy. It's still going to be noisy. That for sure. Okay. What else do we have? Mad Radio DXer, nice to have you here, my friend. Little Rancher, nice to have you on board, my friend. Let's go down as fast as we can. And so Little Rancher is in Houston, Texas. NPR, PLF Radio is the National Public Radio. It's radio network in the United States where the funds are actually being most of the funds come from the listeners, and it's very different than the mass media that we hear all the time. And DRC, it's coming up. It's coming up. One day you'll see you'll see my ham ticket. Promise. And probably this fall. What else is there? What else is there? Only one can, Dr. Sisop. I got only one can. The real DJ Adjust. Nice to have you here. Anyone in Tampa, Florida, willing to meet up and teach me the basics on shortwave? So, looking for a meetup. David Green, do hops cost part of the key skip? But there's a lot of hops in some of the shortwave signals we hear from far away. Yeah. Andrea DXer says there was an Italian pirate medium station that would play NPR News on the hour. Oh, wow. Sid Vic says Ham Club here in Gander has a repeater at the Gander radio site. Now and then we get splash over from 8891 on the cell call onto the VHF repeater. Oh, wow. The only DJK, when I drink too much beer, I hear stations on frequencies where they aren't, and I think they are mirror frequencies. Madam Ball, I have to agree, W6LVP loop with some fine performance is still a bit too much dollars. It kind of am in that range. I'm happy to have it, but you know what? You got to remember one thing also, and that's one thing that I get people don't get. I look, the shortwave groups. I see a lot of people, talking about, somebody will pop up and say, hey, what's the best radio? What's the best antenna? And one of the things you got to understand is that the majority of people coming into the hobby don't want to spend $1,000 on the setup. And you don't want to spend $1,000 on something you have no idea if you're going to like and if you want to continue doing it or not. And that is where it's something that I find a lot of people are completely out of track. They're completely out of the, you don't tell a newbie, okay, buy this $800 receiver and that $500 antenna, and your setup is going to be great, you'll hear stuff. No, that's not the way it works, okay? The newbies, they will all get into the hobby with one of the cheapest setup possible very often. Not everybody has hundreds of dollars to dish out for a radio. And still, you want to try to help them get the best they can with the money they will spend. And so you got to be down to earth on this. And it's like, yeah, W6LVP loop is for people like us that are really, really maniacs of radio. I mean, to dish out $500 for an antenna, you gotta be kind of a, you're a fan of radio because, and you want to try to get the best things possible because it's, yes, a lot of money. I'm sorry, but W6LVP loop is expensive. And anybody that will tell me it's expensive, yes, it is. I got no other words than, yes, it is expensive for what it is. I'm sorry. It is. I cannot say it's not. And, I'll be interested in seeing one thing is the results of Fastload's tests with his Chinese $60 version of it. I think we could be very surprised if it's well done. Bullfrog 89 KD2CXU in Albany, New York. Nice to have you here, my friend. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Matambali says, true also that below 5 megahertz, that loop has opened up a lot for you. It totally. It's a new world. Below 5 megahertz is totally a new world. Yesterday I was actually listening to the buzzer, the Russian military buzzer on 4625 was an exception to the rule here. On my sloper, it only was audible when it was at its best. But I can tell you that almost every night when I listen in and tune 4625, it's there in the background. I can hear it. It's not strong, but I can hear it almost every night. So it tells you that, yeah, okay, you're getting the buzzer every night. It's weak, but it's there. And what is interesting, because it, on the sloper it would be in the noise, and that's it. A test that I did was interesting the other day is I asked Fastload. He has a dipole. I asked Fastload to tune CHU 3330. And he said, oh wow, it's in the noise, I don't hear much. And I tuned it on my loop, and it was like loud and clear, really amazing. That's the example. Below 10 it's great, below 5 it's amazing. And I just love that. And you know what? There's one thing that I find sad that I wish it would change. And is the fact that I had to have installed low pass, high pass filters on the antenna. AM FM stations here in Montreal are so strong that they would overload the loop. So cool, but the problem is I would have enjoyed to have them that I can actually switch them off, because the sad part of my loop is performance is amazing in the low frequencies. I would have enjoyed getting some long wave of medium wave stations with the loop. I think that loop would have been quite interesting in that range. But I can't, because below 1.8 megahertz everything's attenuated because of the filter. And you can't switch it off. Max S. Strong says, pretty amazing for a 36-inch antenna. Loops are amazing. That is what I will say. For what it is and for the size, it's totally amazing. It gets amazingly good signals. Cyberflyer 1 zeroing Shenwick 5649. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let's go down. Just check it out. David Green says, I put all my antennas inside this summer because of the weather here and pretty extreme. I prefer my shortwave inverted L, basically slope grounded to a copper rod. Kind of interesting. David Green's been using the handmade indoor PK loop from Australia for a few months, so it's not perfect, but it can be impressive. So kind of interesting. D1 DJK, when you don't have space, use a radio with a very long telescopic antenna like the S350DL. Yeah, but when there's a lot of noise, it's kind of complicated, I can tell you that. Shitty Pyro 90, nice to have you here, my friend. Todd Schmidt, nice to have you on board. David Green says, not to criticize it at all, though it is extremely portable and durable and receptive. I think the issue fall back on where I am in the house and geographically. I can one other positive aspect of the W6 LVP loop is how it can easily be transported, and you can actually set up anywhere with it and see what you receive. It's not that difficult to actually having it portable and using it anywhere when you don't want to set up, big, huge antennas. Page Master, nice to have you here, my friend. KC5VOY, WA5136SWL. He applied to get his original call sign back. Cool. Cool. No problem, the real DJ adjust. Todd Schmidt, been watching and learning and installing FLDG today, and I have it ready. Thanks for the training video, Joe. You're such a good teacher. Thank you very much, Todd. Hope you're going to have fun with that, for sure. For sure. Wow, David Darden says, Lightning just struck on the street next to us. Wow. Todd Schmidt says, friend just gave me a Baofeng UV5R. Don't really understand it yet. Yeah, take your time. Take your time. Yeah, Bobby, I'll check it out. David in Barcelona. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool to have you on board. Matthew Wells, can you use a TV antenna for radio? You know, TV antennas are tuned for high frequencies like VHF, UHF, first of all. So that's one of the things you gotta understand is that it's for that range on receivers, VHF, UHF radios. It could be an interesting antenna. But for shortwave and for below 30 megahertz, they usually won't perform very well. Plus, there's a mismatch. Often TV antennas are made with something like 75 ohm, or even some connectors are like 300 ohms connectors. So they mismatch, and you'll lose some signal there because of the mismatch. But TV antennas are not necessarily, they are good for FM radio. You probably will have good reception on FM radio because it's a VHF range. But for shortwave or below, it probably isn't really good. But the best, and that's always the best, is just try it. I tried so many things. I tried TV antennas, I tried rabbit ears, I tried so many things checking out how reception was on shortwave. And that's the fun of radio. Just take the time to, you know, tune and have fun. So I'm getting WWV here. This is on the sloper. And I had a lot of noise today. I actually have a better reception on it's there on the W6 LVP loop. Definitely have more noise in the past. This week, I don't know what, somebody seems to have installed something new or changed something. I have more noise than I had in the past month. Yeah, that's the thing, D1 DJK. You've got very low noise. When you have a lot of noise, that telescopic is a problem. The real DJ Jess, I agree about spending the money. Looking for someone in Tampa, Florida area to show me basics of off-grid utilization. Hope you find somebody to help you out, my friends. Edward Charles. Nice to have you here. Todd Schmidt just purchased a MLA 30 loop, lightning arrestor, ground rod, SMA cables, adapters, getting ready to pour concrete for a base. Going to mount a remote rotor on that so I can dial it in. Interesting. Cool, real DJ. Hope these help a lot. Brad Minton, do you use an antenna switch? In which one? I don't have an antenna switch right now. It's a manual. Let's change the cables. But I would like to have some form of antenna switch eventually for my use. because I would like to sometimes be able to quickly switch on the same radio between two antennas, my sloper. So right now that's why my sloper is on this radio and my loop is on that RSP1A SDR. Johnny DXer, nice to have you here. W3JMC from Philadelphia suburbs. Jim, just tuned the buzzer now. Cool. Cuban Lady in 11635. Let's check that out. Let's compare the signal too. It's pretty good. So this is Cuban Lady.
5, 7, 5, 3, 1.
Really good signal today on the Cuban Lady 11635. So this is on the sloper with the Yaesu. And this is on my loop. Much better on the loop with the SDR1 or RSP1A. That's much better on the loop. Here it's very noisy compared to the loop. Very noisy compared to the loop. There it's crystal clear. It's pretty amazing. Amazing reception on the loop. Definitely much better than the sloper on the Yaesu. Todd Schmidt, buzzer frequency 4625 kilohertz upper sideband. Jerry, nice to have you here, Jerry DX. Hello there, Fast Load. Nice to have you here. iWrite61, nice to have you on board from Connecticut. Atambali's got 9690 Radio Exterior de España. Yeah, they're back. D1DJKS BBC from Ascension Islands, 12095. Andy RC, showing guys, battery going on my mobile, need to charge, 73. Take care. Always nice to have you on board, Andy. There's still some activity, Terry Cook, on the U.S. Air Force frequencies, Mystic Star. They've kind of been reassigned somewhat, though. I need to check that out. So Brent, what I did, so Brent is asking me if I rotate my loop and see any difference. So what I did, I remote connected my laptop to the SDR. And I was with the laptop listening to signals and manually rotating the loop on different signals to see that almost everywhere I did that, there was almost no difference. And that basically the best for me is to really leave it in the orientation it's right now, which is lower noise possible, and that's it. But honestly, I would not see any difference. Most of the signals I would not see any difference. There would be differences in some ranges, like medium wave probably, or long wave. But on the shortwave side, I've seen very little difference, if at all. And mostly try to just position it for the lowest noise possible. And actually, in the instructions with the W6 LVP loop, he mentions that if you got a rotor, why not? It'd be cool. but his recommendation, most of his recommendation is just set it for the lowest noise and leave it like that, which would probably be the best setup anyways. VA7BC, nice to have you on board, my friend. Bonjour, Grégoire. Pretty cool. Attachment, are you going to cover FLDG videos? I need to, you know, that's a side maybe I should do a little more, decoding different types of digital modes with FLDG. That could be an interesting set of videos. I know a lot of people are actually watching some of my videos when I post them and saying that they really help a lot, so I'll be checking that out definitely. Owen81, nice to have you on board. I think I have one on MFSK, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I will be covering more modes. I will be checking that out, Todd, and trying to explain a little more for sure. No problem, Bullfrog89. It happens. It happens. Hope everything's back to normal after the storms of last week. Joseph Ivankovich, it would be interesting for you to try your loop on a DX expedition sometime. Maybe it will really bring in weak signals. One of my main ideas was to bring my loop on like on Perry Island, for example, and set it up there. I could actually use one of the tripods I've got here for the cameras. I've got a couple of really sturdy tripods for the cameras and the lighting system. I could probably find a way to put it on the tripod so that it actually stands upright and temporarily set it up at Perry Island. That is one of the ideas I was thinking for sure. That's for sure. Take care, PLF Radio. BKS 9900. Nice to have you here from Romania, my friend. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Owen81 says, I saw a video about Brazilian pirates using US Navy satellites UHF repeaters. The other day seemed to operate 250 megahertz. Could you use the satellites with a handheld with the US 1.25 meter band? I don't know what they use actually to communicate with these satellites. I'm not sure you could use a handheld, but I don't know that much about that frequency range. I know that they are using it. I know they are kind of abusing these satellites with all of those transmissions, but I'm not really sure exactly. Todd Schmidt, new radios I bought, still waiting on them to arrive from the East. Texan PL 880 and XH Data D808, driving me crazy. You're gonna have a lot of fun with these radios, I can tell you that. Roberto Rojas, nice to have you on board from Argentina. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's been, the Cuban lady's been saying the same numbers for years now. We're still wondering if it's still useful to have that. Todd Schmidt right now uses his DX398, best of all my radios. I love the way it picks up strongest signals. Stored on the pages, been loading. Pretty cool. Yeah, it is cool. Steve Thompson, nice to have you on board. Wine and vodka in a garden with his XH Data D808. Well, you know what? Enjoy your beautiful time, for sure. Forgot that this is shortwave. Well, Sidvik, every loop antenna is directional. A loop antenna by default is a directional antenna. The difference, or the thing about loop antennas, is that in shortwave signals is that the directional patterns of shortwave aren't super prevalent, because when the signal propagates a very far distance, even though it comes in general from a location, it kind of comes all over the place. So that directional pattern is kind of lost on the loop, especially on the shortwave side of things. So, like they say, the best is to position the loop for minimum noise rather than maximum signal. D1DJK, cool beer, enjoying evening sun, and Texan R99012 in his pocket. Cool. Cool. What else do we have? No, that's not Bobby Burgess. I've not tried the RSPTCP console app yet. Absolutely not. You know, I like the take control of the using the remote desktop feature. Yeah, full control of everything, including the PC. So it's kind of nice like that, because you can do pretty much what you want. Todd Schmidt, it depends on, you know, of course, if you want to set it up right, you know, with a rotor, you will be able to, especially on the low frequencies, like if you do medium wave on it, that rotor will probably be very helpful to null out some of the medium wave signals and dish others. So on that side, you're better with the rotor. But if it's shortwave only, most of the recommendations I've seen was just put it up so that the noise is at the minimum and just leave it like that. Levi Nathan, nice to have you here from Israel. Danny, Shortwave Radio DX, nice to have you on board from mild and cloudy Yonkers. Here's a little cool today, barely above 70, 71, maybe 72 Fahrenheit, but I was actually outside this afternoon a little bit on the balcony and found that it was almost cold. So it's kind of a difference in temperature, I can tell you that. Charles Williams, barely hearing the numbers, lady in San Diego. I had to set my R75 to preamp to USB. So, but the, you know what, Charles, they also often broadcast to a specific area. So sometimes they do their Cuban numbers for, you know, eastern part of North America or western North America, or, you know. So they kind of set it for and, you know, you guys in San Diego are 3 hours behind, so you guys are kind of, it's 2:30 p.m. over there. So the characteristics of the shortwave band isn't the same. The sun isn't the same height. All of that changes, you know. It's interesting. That's one of the things that I've found interesting. I've always, you know, you get into a pattern of thinking. And it's easy to find that maybe international broadcasters think the same. You get into that pattern of thinking, I am getting Radio Romania here. It must be good for all of the east coast of North America. And then I have you guys in the chat room, and we start tuning signals. And while we're tuning signals, I suddenly find that, oh, that's interesting. I don't hear this, but you in Virginia are hearing it, or in South Carolina are hearing it. And yes, that's my phone ringing. So you're kind of, you know, in a way where you think about all of this, and the live shows made me realize how the propagation can be so much different from only 1,000 kilometers away. Sometimes 500 kilometers away is a huge difference. And it's something that I never thought it would be so big of a difference. But when you start thinking about it, the ionosphere isn't ionized equally everywhere. The sun isn't in the same height in the sky if you're here in Montreal, which is 45.5 degrees north, than it is if you're down in, 30 degrees north. And so there's a lot of differences in our positioning that I never thought before doing the live shows would be such a huge difference in reception of a same signal. And, it kind of puts you into that idea of thinking, well, these broadcasters have a hard time kind of, okay, we want to be heard in North America. What's the best way to do it? What angle we're going to use? What frequency is the best to use? It is kind of a complex thing. Now, obviously, there's a few things you can think about. Don't do like KBS World Radio that's so idiot that they don't actually, you wonder if they care if there's a shortwave service on KBS World Radio. I think we should all write KBS World Radio and say, hey, get that 15575 out of the way and rent some airtime on WRMI for North America, because you ain't making it, It is sad because it's fun to hear a station from, far away. A great example of that, is here in North America, if you listen to South Korea and you listen to China, they're in the general same vicinity, general, of course. They are far apart in distance in some cases, but I mean they're in Asia, and so this week I did one test, 3 mornings at 13 UTC. That's 9 a.m. local. I tried the English service of KBS World Radio, 15575. At the same time, the 19 meter band had 4 really strong fire drakes, or CNR1 stations, China National Radio, direct from Beijing. And all 4 were really good here. Even the weakest of the Chinese jammer was strong enough to be able to follow a program. But none of the days that I did this, KBS World Radio was there. It was almost inaudible. There was a very weak signal. I couldn't hear anything. And it made me think, okay, China's making it with a decent signal. What are you not doing that we don't hear you? Now, of course, I suspect that China probably pumps 500 kilowatts. Is it that? Is it because KBS World Radio is pumping, 100 kilowatts rather than 500? I suspect it's more than that. Because we already talk about it. How, 100 kilowatts, 500 kilowatts, it's maybe in numbers, it's 5 times more powerful. In real-time reality signal in your radio, it isn't that much more. And I think maybe something's not right. Maybe their antennas are not the same. Maybe they're just not pushing it in the right angle, the right. It's a mystery. And they don't put any efforts. That is what makes me mad about KBS World Radio. There's 0 efforts in helping out or improving anything. I look at Radio Thailand. Radio Thailand this summer, I think it's one of the first summers where 15590 in the summer hasn't been coming in. I've had very weak signals, but I've not had clear enough reception to listen to Radio Thailand. But Radio Thailand does something that KBS World Radio does not. Radio Thailand does change its frequency in the wintertime. And usually 13745 in the spring and in the fall, when we're at the equinox, usually it's okay for a month and a half. Good enough to listen into the program. Until it fades down and is almost impossible here during the months of December, January, when we're at the deep of winter. But at least they do a change. Technically, Radio Thailand makes more of an effort to try to be heard in North America than KBS World Radio in South Korea. But, you know, it's inexcusable because, I'm sorry, but every morning I listened, the Chinese national radio stations were all coming in loud and clear on 19 meters. But KBS World Radio was barely there in that little waterfall thing. I could not hear it. I don't know. It's crazy. David Arden, when I drink shortwave beer, do you feel the solar flux improving? What else do we have? What else do we have? We just check it out here. Todd Schmidt, the suit on V, voice of the report of the week, is a nice guy. I just can't do a show anymore. It's about weird stuff now, like Area 51 and Dream States. I just can't listen to entire show anymore. But you know what, Todd? He changes and talks about different things all the time. He talks about very, very different things. So, you know, you got to just go with the flow that, you know, I like his show. It's an easygoing show where he just goes and talks about what he feels interesting. You know, it's kind of cool. Coaster 2301, have you ever gotten an amateur radio license? No, but I'm soon to be licensed, I can tell you that. Hey, my friend Hirofumi Yokoyama, nice to have you on board from Japan. J. Artisan 69, can you show us your shirt? Can't see it. Yeah, sure, it's my cat shirt. Jill and Paul. So, it's a beautiful, beautiful shirt. Me and Paul, best friends for life. Kind of cute. Paul is sleeping in the living room. I'm surprised he hasn't actually decided to come over and say hi, because usually when I talk like this all the time, he jumps down and comes and say hello to everybody. So I'm surprised he's not there, actually. This, I'm going to move it back here. So, and once again, for those that are weren't there at the beginning, my On The Air, this is my new On The Air kind of light up sign, and this was a nice gift from Brian Penny from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Once again, that we met up at the CIDX barbecue last Saturday. Thanks once again for the great gift. And of course, I'm drinking a shortwave beer. For those that weren't there a little earlier, this is what I'm having right now. That's a gift from Mickey Dalmage out of Alberta, Canada. The shortwave beer, and it says scan through the static. So this is what I am drinking right now. Kind of a nice, very tasty beer. So kind of cool. What else do we have? Brent, Jean, for the explanation about rotating the loop. No problem. Steve Thompson got a DX394. Cool. Tosh, my wife is insane at me. She doesn't understand that each one is different, like people. Yeah, you know. BKS 9900. He's got a Wellbrook ALA 1530, and he loves it. Cool. Danny, shortwave radio DX, is that $60 loop? Is the WBL01 wideband active loop? YouTube Signal Hunter just bought it, and so far he seems to be impressed with it. I think it is. I don't remember what he told me, but when I asked about the loop, I said, oh, I saw something on YouTube about that $60 loop, Chinese $60 loop or something, and he said, well, that's what I think I got. So I think that's the thing. I've seen a few videos, I've seen a few blog posts, And I gotta say that they seem to be very happy for that with that antenna. Todd Schmidt, building a DX440 radio. So far I have swapped out the charging circuit, converted to run off of two 18650s. Oh, it's fun. Have fun playing around with the radios. Bob Burnell, nice to have you on board, my friend. Cyberflyer 1, what do I think of vertical antennas? The problem with vertical antennas is that they are usually noisy because they receive all around. And because of the fact that having a very long vertical antenna is kind of impossible, they're usually shorter. You know, an example of that is I used a 102-inch CB antenna. And you know, it was decent for what it is, even though it's tuned to 11 meters. It's kind of interesting what it does, but you know, I don't think a vertical antenna usually performs that well when you compare it to, you know, a dipole or anything that you could have more length in it. NESX, Jill, do you know about the special event this weekend hosted by WWV celebrating 100 years? Yeah, they're doing some tests this weekend before they actually have on-air special event stations this fall. I don't have a lot of information on it, but yes, absolutely, there's some stuff happening. I'm going to try to check that out and maybe post a couple of videos. ZX, nice to have you on board, my friend, from the Carpathians. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else do we have? David says, wasn't WWV going off the air shortwave, or did I dream it? No, it was, they did have, the budget wasn't there for this year, but they were given all the budgets and everything. There's no way that would go out the air, off the air, honestly. It has a lot of implications removing these stations, honestly. So, you know, it's something that needs to stay, for sure. For sure. Hey, Buddy Bean. Nice to have you on board from North Georgia. Really nice to have you here. But it wasn't the first year. What was interesting is the fact that a couple of years back they also had that funding problem on WWV, and nobody talked about it. But this time around, everybody started talking about it for some reason, which is kind of interesting. Leon AJK, usually radio stations on shortwave use two different frequencies on different bands. When the first frequency is scrapped, second might be better. Yeah, a lot of stations do that, but because of the cost effectiveness of shortwave, they want to remove, you know, and use one frequency many times. So that is a problem, I can tell you what, that. So, Voice of Vietnam being broadcast on WRMI. No, they're on WHRI, by the way. It was a mind blower considering our past experience with them. It shows how things have changed, my friend Todd. Things have changed. Matthew Wells, nice to have you here, and enjoy your coffee. I like coffee. Yeah, it is interesting, Rob, because if you're to spend your money broadcasting, honestly, if you're to spend money broadcasting on shortwave, why aren't you actually taking the time to make sure that everybody can hear you. I mean, you're spending money on shortwave. That means you are also, you want to be heard. I would guess. Why spend all that money transmitting if it's useless? Honestly, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Real DJ says, I like the Texan S2000. Look and portability price point, but want something I can use to broadcast down the road. Any recommendation? Looking for something short range, peer-to-peer communications. Huh. Not sure. Yes, it is. The shirt is amazing, David Green. Absolutely. I love it. It is cute. Absolutely. The one JK, pretty beautiful shirt and a pretty nice S350DL. Rick Strudjak, nice to have you here. Do you know of any old serials that are still being broadcast on shortwave? Do you have any schedules for them? Do you mean like some kind of old-time radio series and stuff like that? I don't have any schedules, but the only station that was really broadcasting some of those, mostly WWCR. I haven't heard a lot of those in the past. Last winter, I remember hearing a lot of it, but I've not been hearing a lot of that in the past couple of months, for sure. Rob says, great shirt. Make sure to wash it inside out to make it last a little longer. Yep, absolutely. And he loves the on-the-air song. Shortwave guys, when I become licensed, what radio I'll use? Well, I do have this transceiver here, the Yaesu FT450. So for now, that will be my main radio for amateur radio use. Of course, eventually maybe I'll have something else. But I'm going to start with that transceiver, which is kind of nice already. So, I'll be checking that out. Coaster 2301, you got some great transceivers. If you ever get a Canadian equivalent of our general license, I will. Oh my God, Todd Schmidt, I got probably well over 100 radios, all in all. So if you want your wife to go nuts, tell her you want to beat me. You want to have more than 100 radios. I want more radios than Jill has. Attachment's got the MLA 30 loop that is coming, so cool. David says, does your new on-the-air sign mean you're about to get your ticket? I knew it. When I put it, I put it there, I thought some of you will certainly make that joke or tell me, well, you know what? That is, that means you got to get your ticket now. I will. Don't worry, guys. I will for sure. What else do we have? My latest radio love is Shirt Pocket AM radios. Love my CC Pocket radio, my C-Crane. Oh, interesting. Cool. It does look kind of retro and cool. Absolutely. I left it on almost all week. And when it gets dark, it's kind of nice. And it is nice because, it's kind of adds that feel to the... I might be... so right now it's here. I want to fill that space here that has nothing right now with things that would be radio related. I thought that maybe that sign could go up like here somewhere and always be in the frame, and easy to change space when I want to go on the other side, because I will be back in September on that side with radio stuff. If you guys remember, I was changing from one side to the other for a while. The reason I am not going that side is because it's becoming analog side, and right now it looks like a big mess. Plus, I got the air conditioning on that side, which means doing live shows with the cold air in my face is not what I kind of want to do. So I'm waiting for the weather to come back to normal, and removing the air conditioning, and we'll start doing the live shows once again on both sides. And I still have an idea for that side that right now has boxes and it's full of crap. I would like to have some setup there about something else also. I think that could be quite interesting on the radio side of things, or maybe under any other shows that I could be doing. I got an idea of a show that would be done from there with my nephew maybe. So I don't know. We're gonna check. You know, I'm on the process of reactivating my Android YouTube channel. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff coming in September. So I'll let you guys know when all of that is there, for sure. Touchman enjoyed the barbecue video. Such a great group of guys and gals. Been listening to Zoomer. I guess I am Canadian at heart. Seems like your country is awesome, Michelle. Montreal is such a nice city. We are amazing. And Montreal is a beautiful city, absolutely. Louis, nice to have you on board. What happened to Scanner Show 95 in Los Angeles? I don't know. Casper Peterson, nice to have you here, my friend. Been a while. Do you know anything about TV frequencies? I'm not really sure they are now that it's that they are in digital and HDTV. I didn't know a lot of them before when we were analog, but I'm not that much. I would need to look up for that what frequencies they're using on HDTV. So. David in Barcelona says, I should clarify, my signal on 40 meters makes it great to North America, at least as far as I've tried. I've been trying to transmit on FT8 20 meters too, always on 100 watt, and on that band I didn't perform as well. But you know what, I haven't heard, honestly, David, in the past couple of weeks, every time I monitored 20 meters, I would not hear a lot of hams from Europe. And most of what I heard was only, you know, U.S. stations or Western Canadian stations. Take care, D1 DJK. Always nice to have you on board, my friend. Laird Nigel Lawrence, nice to have you here, my friend, from England. What else do we have? What else do we have? Damn, I'm jealous. I thought. Oh, man. Pagemaster's got 17 radios. But you know, I do radio videos, and I'm probably a sucker for all sorts of radios. When I get radios and I see a radio, I want to have it. And so, you know, there's a lot of crappy radios in there. There's some nice radios in there. But you know, I'd rather have somebody tell me I got one radio and I really use it well, than have 50 radios and it's like they don't tune the bands ever. You know, I would be sad, honestly, because for those that don't know, I'll say it again. I do a let's put Spain here for a few seconds. So I hear Spain in the background. So what I do is I always, because I mean I have all of these radios, and one of the things I don't want when I got radios is have radios that will never work. So what I do is I rotate the receivers. So I'll be, you know, for a few weeks using I don't know, the radio. And then for a few weeks I'll be with the S350. Another few weeks I'll be with the DXing D1103. I'll be with any other. And that is my way of making sure that these receivers get enough love and attention, honestly. So I will always, pretty much in a year cycle, I will say, pretty much every radio will have been used for some amount of time. Because I like radios, but I don't want them to stay on the shelf and do nothing. The only ones I do nothing much is the ones that are really crappy, because I don't want to tune them anyway. But I keep them there just because it's a radio. But most of the radios that are decent performers, at some point, I will honestly be using it at some point in my kind of my rotation of radios. That's pretty much what I will do most of the time. Owen81 says, wow, 100 radios. This guy at my radio hand club is about 30,000 pounds worth of HF. Yeah, some people are, some people that have the money are, have tons of really expensive radios. I got radios of every price range or almost in here, but of course a lot of cheaper radios. So, but it's, Owen81, count that as being in part a collection also, because there's having radios to listen to, having radios to own and to play with. There's also, some people are on the aspect of having radios in their collections. It's like, a collection of classic cars or a stamp collection. Some of them out there, radios are what they want to collect. I've seen some people, some people collect vintage radios. I've seen people with tons of radios that never use them, which I find totally unacceptable, because if you get a radio, it better turn on sometimes and you better listen. But some people have radios and never turn them on. They just find the looks good and find that they're cool. But personally, I don't understand that, because if I have radios, I want to use them. Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you on board from southeastern Arizona. Nice to have you here, my friend. Always nice to have you here. Danny, Shortwave Radio DX, according to his current own radio list, he's got 55. I actually need to make an accurate list, because I'm not really sure exactly how many radios I got. Firefly, nice to have you here. G8SBS in the UK. Pretty cool. David Green's getting radio in New Zealand, 11725. Pretty clear. Cool. Cool. So Touchman has some of his radios on YouTube, so you can check them out. Pretty cool. Anything else? Anything else? I'm down the list now. Cool. I finally joined and am at the bottom of the chat room. So this is kind of cool. What happened to George Wood of Sweden calling the Xers? I don't know. A lot of these personalities that we all heard over time are, have kind of disappeared. And we've kind of lost track. There was one of the two Bobs that passed away in the past couple of weeks, which is really sad. It kind of it's kind of some of our shortwave radio past, honestly. And when you hear something like that, and in old shows and programs, in Sweden calling the Xers, and in these personalities that we used to, if you're a shortwave listener for a long time, they were part of your life of shortwave radio listening. and it's kind of interesting to see how they all of that, you know, how they some of them have just disappeared. There's, you know, a lot of personalities. HTJB, for example, had a lot of known personalities of the different shows, and I mean, as time went by and stations, you know, shut down, some of them have kept something alive on the web of some sort, but a lot of those personalities have just disappeared, and we lost track of what they do and where they are in life, you know. I will do a little self-promotion here. If you like what I do, if you like the show, if you like everything, why not give me a little something? You can go to paypal.me/shortwave, or if you are on PayPal, just send your donation to the Yahoo email here. And of course, all donations are appreciated. Remember that I spend a lot of time doing this, and it's kind of my job, full-time job. And it's something that isn't always, you know, easy with YouTube rules and regulations. I'm here every Fridays if you enjoy, you know, I mean, a lot of guys always talking about how what I do is fun, and, you know, you couldn't imagine this not being on the air or this show not existing. Well, why not think about a little something? It helped me out. I mean, it costs a lot of money to operate this. I got to pay a much higher price for my internet connection for the live shows, and you know, I just bought a new laptop. I need a new equipment all the time because I got to keep up to date. And you know, lighting systems. This is not a free operation. It costs me some money, and it actually cost me a lot of money to operate it. Yeah, some of you will say, yeah, but you got YouTube monetization. Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, it feels good when somebody is helping you out in continuing and staying up and running and the different things that you do. And any amount is welcome. And, you know, you might think that some people, I like the way that some people think, you know, once a year they're like, okay, this is my time. This is the once a year donation I'm going to give you because I feel this is like a subscription, my yearly subscription to having Gilles live on YouTube and all the fun that we have together. So, hey, if you like what you see, if you like what I do, why not spare a little something and help me out. So we've got Spain on 96.90 coming in with music, and look at that, Turkey on 98.30, pretty good. Voice of Turkey 9830. Let's check it out here. Compare the sloper in the.
First, the headlines. President Erdogan.
So, Voice of Turkey.
That Syrian army offensive is causing humanitarian crisis.
On the.
Worry over Amazon fires.
SDR player SP1A.
India tightens curbs in Kashmir.
W6LVP loop, and on the Yaesu FT450 and sloper. Not too bad too.
And now details of the news. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan told Russia's head of state Vladimir Putin in a phone call on Friday that Syrian army attacks in northwestern Syria are causing a humanitarian crisis and threatening Turkey's national security, Turkish presidency said.
And back on the RSP1A and loop.
In Syria and Libya.
It's clearer on the with the W6LVP loop.
Erdogan told Putin he must support Syrian President Bashar al-Assad that the attacks violated a ceasefire in Idlib and damaged efforts for a solution in Syria, according to the Turkish presidency.
So Turkey on 98.30 in English, and Spain 96.90 in English.
Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg, who started a weekly vigil outside Sweden's parliament last year. About 1,200 young people and community volunteers.
So let's compare Spain to
2,500
W6LVP loop,
on June
RSP1A SDR,
Indonesia's Heartland project. Indonesia is the world's biggest producer of palm oil, and environmentalists blame much of the country's forest destruction on land clearance for oil palm plantations. Indonesia is...
And on the Yaesu and Sloper antenna,
but forest fires and haze blight many parts of the country.
not bad at all.
The Indonesian Heartland project encouraged young Indonesians and their communities to plant trees in their local areas, in backyards and gardens, in forests, near rivers, and in old mining sites. Trees used were bought by volunteers or provided by government departments, according to Mandela Suza, who is an indigenous rights advocate and organizer of the project. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, millions of new trees will soon begin sprouting in El Salvador, thanks to a program funded by the Mexicans.
Look at that, guys. Even with all the noise here,
Create fertile ground for fleeing migrants.
on the S350DL with telescopic indoors with all the noise around here.
President Andrés Manuel López Obrador gave $30 million grant from 1.2 million acres and earned of over 900,000 American taxpayers. The program was announced recently in Tapachula, a Mexican town that borders Guatemala, during an event headlined by López Obrador, Mexico's leftist leader who has long focused on the poor, and El Salvador's new president.
Kind of cool. Even with the noise here, we can hear it. So that's it. We got some stations here. What else do we have? Danny Shortwave Radio DX says, I like to oops. I like to collect old vintage radios. That is nice. Absolutely. Tannerung, nice to have you here. Going good, my friend. Waiting for SH Data D808. Cool. Cool. It's always a little long when you're waiting for those radios to arrive, and they're somewhere in the universe, and they're like, well, when am I going to get my radio? Danny Shortwave Radio DX, I have only 2 radios that need repair, both the older tube radios, Alicrafters S200 and Night Roamer Shortwave Radio. Gordon Treadwell, VE6 GPT, nice to have you on board, long time, yeah. Hope you're well, my friend. Owen81 says, I guess if I had more money, would buy more radios too. It is an expensive hobby though, but I guess most hobbies are. Yeah, when you want every hobby is expensive, honestly. If you want to have good radios, if you want to have something that is, that performs well, you got to put the money there. I mean, it's important, and hope that really nice to to just have fun. I want to say hi to Rick Nelson via email. Nice to have you here, my friend. And it's WOHP that's in the chat room, mentioning that his donation. Thank you so much, my friend. And hey, John Fisher, nice to have you here. And took a little time for me to say hi, but I'm here in the email. Forgot to check. We were talking about that. You would be sending in your email. So it's great to see you also last week. It was a lot of fun to have you, and thank you so much. Always fun to watch your show. Glad you got the drain clog fixed. So nice to have you here, John Fisher, KC1FTJ in Massachusetts. And of course, it's always a pleasure to see you, John, also. That is always a pleasure, and thanks so much. Our hams on the tight side, generally 25 pounds year, 25-year-old tech would 25-pound-year-old tech would virtually worth nothing. It depends on what, you know what, not everything is worth value over time, honestly. So it depends what. It depends what. No problem, Tosh Schmidt. No problem, Tosh Schmidt. It's not something you have to do, you know. No, I've never done it. You know, one of the things I don't like much is Max Headstrong is to annoy people too much with money, because it can get annoying for some. And you know, I don't talk too much about it, and already I get some ranting of some people saying, well, you know, you should stop asking for money. So you know, I try to find the balance of let's ask donations but not be too heavy on it, because some people do get annoyed over that. Laird Nigel Lawrence, nice to have you. Well, you were here already, but I mean, you're talking about Radio Sweden on 1179 kHz, and you used to listen to that. By the way, there's a couple of YouTube videos of Sweden calling DXers that are fun to listen to on YouTube. Just type Sweden calling DXers in YouTube, and you're gonna have fun listening to those old shows. Actually, YouTube is a nice place for old shortwave programs of the past, and the feel. I mean, you hear the static and the tones from nearby stations, and it sounds so much like shortwave from when I was listening in the 80s. It's just crazy. What you missed in the last month? Major things. You won't believe all that's changed. No, actually, not that much. Actually, you know, it's summer. It's a little more quiet. You missed the CIDX, Canadian International DX Club show last Saturday. Stuff like that, you know. Todd Schmidt says, your knowledge is worth a lot to me, and even though we haven't met in person, I consider you a fellow radio friend. No problem. And you know, you donate when you can. And I don't want also to... I also want to... you know, don't want to make people feel bad because they can't donate, because that's also something that you got to be careful. You know, some people out there cannot donate, and it's okay. And I get a lot of people saying, well, you should do this, you should do that, add this, or have super chat, or have private live shows. I don't want that. I don't want to have that exclusive club to rich people that can pay for something. It's never something I enjoyed. And I've always thought that, you know, if you really enjoy and love what I do, you'll donate naturally. It won't be, you know, I don't have to do anything special, and I don't want to have, you know, push out people of something because they just can't donate, honestly. Yes, Mad Radio DXer, I'm very happy with my loot. Totally. That, I can see that, you know, I got no problem. Like I was saying earlier, if you missed it out, I do find it's very expensive, but still I'm extremely happy with the loop. Absolutely Mad Radio DXer. Todd Schmidt, you got, I have to get the SDR radio mentioned to me. Then I'll be set up with radios until the new flagship Saint-Jeans and Texans come out. So, cool. Firefly, see you have a nice glass of beer. I have a glass of wine. Cool. 181, I have a really cheap Chinese SDR. It's the one with HF and U and VHF separate antenna sockets. It has a picture of a spectrum scope on it. Does anyone else have this one, and is it useless? It's probably one of those basics RTL SDRs that are with separate up converters. They aren't useless in general. They usually do some of that job decently, but they aren't the best. You know, I mean, there's better out there, but honestly, it's like, you know, I've got one here, this Soft 66. So it might be something like that you're talking about, which is the Soft 66 right here. So this is, honestly, this is the RTL SDR dongle at the top, and at the bottom it's a up converter for shortwave. And you know, they're okay. I mean, if you plug this in, if you set it correctly, you could be very surprised at what you get out of this. Actually, I should plug this back in, honestly, and play with it, because I think it could be fun to maybe use one of my other portables I don't use a lot and have this set up permanently and dedicated to tuning around. I mean, that could be a lot of fun. You know, instead of having it here and doing nothing, it could be used in you know, some kind of shortwave reception. Maybe I could try it on my new Acer machine and see what it does with HDSDR. I think that could be a lot of fun to test out. So you know, it's kind of cool to play around. But you know, it's not the best, but honestly, this will get, it's surprisingly a lot of signals, but you have to set it up right. Keith Logan, nice to have you here, my friend. It's going pretty well. Keegan's having a glass of tea, a cup of buttermilk. Hey Matt, nice to have you back. I hope you are better now, Gordon, my friend, and that things are getting better, honestly. What is there to listen to right now? Well, you can try Spain on 96.90 in English, or Turkey on 98.30 in English. Actually, Turkey, yeah. Both are very, very strong.
For sure what I wanted in his life. So,
both are very strong, 98.30, 96.90, with Spain and Turkey coming in well on the 31 meter band. Dan Trainer, nice to have you here, my friend. Todd Schmidt, imagine an XH data dug out of a bunker 1,000 years from now, and they have no idea what it is. That is something to think about, honestly. And it's interesting to see the technology we have today. I mean, you know, 1,000 years from now, what shortwave will be like? Will it still exist? Will there be something on, you know, will they have found a new way of using shortwave for something? So it's kind of interesting. Joe Sabourin, nice to have you on board, my friend. Just got in. Nice to have you here. Better late than ever, as they say. You're watching the Shortwave show live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada on YouTube. Nice, that's strong. Says I'm just afraid the show will quit. No, you know, it's a question of having fun. As long as I'm having fun, that's what's keeping it alive. Yeah. You know, Todd Schmidt, selling shirts and stuff, it's just that, you know, I don't want to have the hassle of having to deal with that, which is, you know, adds to the complexity of my work week, where I already have very little time to do stuff. There, Nigel Lawrence says, I did listen to Radio Canada International. Has it happened 30 years? This I found out about Lockerbie and Scotland borders, Penham 103 bombing of the airplane. Yeah, as it happens. Oh, I listened to that. It reminds me of an older time when I was working for somebody else and enjoying my shortwave radios at night. Joshua Gosnell, nice to have you here, Joshua. Been busy in the different hobby. Police scanner, 800 megahertz, police and fire in his area. Gone to P25 phase 1. Well, that's nice. It could be a lot of you know, it could be a lot of fun to tune around and play around. If it's not encrypted, you can easily listen to that. P25 phase 1, if not encrypted, is easy to decode. You can try SDR's decoding with that also. I need to try that also. Todd Schmidt says, trade you this Baofeng UV 5R for that SDR. McGlone, how much will a budget SDR cost? Well, it depends what you got, but if you got one of this, it's, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks, 40 bucks. And it's surprising what it can do. You know, I know a lot of people are bashing it, saying, well, you know, it's low cost, low performance, and yes, but you get what you pay for. You know, 40 bucks is 40 bucks. You are getting what you pay for at 40 bucks. You got to understand that. But for 40 bucks, if you put it in the context of this is $40, it's very surprising what you do in this. If you set it right, because there's an RF gain. One of the major problems of most people in this is setting the RF gain too high, so it overloads all the time and they get zero reception. This will get, you know, what I'm listening to now. It's just that it will be a little less insensitive and noisier than RSP1A for sure. The RSP1A SDR is much better. But anyone that has any from $100 to $150 to dish out, I will I pretty much will always say, look, you know what? Buy a SDR Play RSP1A. You're not going wrong with that. It's just crazy. It's wideband, and you do listen to a lot of stuff. Hey there, Retro. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Charles Williams, I think an ICOM ICR 8600 is justified considering how much you're into radio. I'd love to see the reviews and videos with the new ICR 8600. I'd like one myself. Yeah, probably, but you know, it's a very expensive receiver. The R8600 is expensive. And in these days of SDRs and all, I'm starting, you know, it's getting, I'd say it's difficult to dish out all of that money for a radio like that. Here in Canada, it's like $4,000. That's kind of expensive. Yeah, I would probably love to have one for sure, but you know, it's kind of crazy. Page Master, kids these days, they'll still don't know what a VHS thing. Are you talking about what this could be? What is this? What is this thing? I got a VCR just over there, and I was testing it out the other day. This is one out of like 10 80s music video clips that I actually made cassettes. And I put this on, and I just become so nostalgic of 80s music and videos. And now I've even had even more interesting stuff is now that I see the ads. You see ads for stuff from the 80s, and the way the ads were done, it was like, wow, things have changed. Things have changed. What else do we have? Yeah, I did that once. I had another Soft 66 like this one that I did do a giveaway. It was like I did a contest. If you give a donation, you were in for the winning a Soft 66. And it came with the USB cable, and I put a little disc in the envelope. And I don't remember somebody who won it, but we haven't heard of that person. I knew at the moment that I had sent it, he or she was moving. I think it was a woman that won it. And I never heard again after that. Bullfrog 89, what's the covered range of the RSP1A? 1 kilohertz to 2 gigahertz. So it's really 1 kilohertz to 2 gigahertz, and it's pretty darn good. No, Gordon, not yet, but before the year is over, I should have my ham license. For sure. Attachment. It's crazy how an analog SSB signal sends all trace, color, and intensity settings. It's just crazy what happens. I can tell you that. Really crazy. Yeah, they could have done it. Oh, there's so many things in advertising, I can tell you that. Joshua Gosnell says, I got all Pink Floyd music video from MTV. Now that's back when MTV was the best in the world. Yeah, the first tape that I have comes from a local station here that would have a 1 hour video clip show. Then we had Much Music out of Toronto that, man, I bugged my mom so much to get a subscription to Much Music. Then we had Music Plus, which was the Quebec version with French music video. I have about 10 tapes, 10 tapes with 2 hour full of music videos. And I found 2 of them. There's 8 other ones that are somewhere that I need to find because, man, these are just great. And of course, I've got at least a couple of dozen tapes with like old movies that I probably recorded. Bobby Burgess, Fastload is using the ephedry as a pan adapter for the Kenwood R5000. And he's having a lot of fun with that. Max says strong. Making dinner, drinking wine, watching Gilles. Life is good. Cool. Yes, absolutely, Gordon. You're right on that. Absolutely. Rob says, yeah, things have changed a lot since the 80s. Malls are dying every week. Since 2007, no malls were built in America. Yeah, a lot of things are changing. A lot of things are changing. We got 2 or 3, something like that. If you have more than 85%, you're already on the second license that allows you all HF work, as long as you got more than 85% at your exam. So I'm going to start with that and continue off for sure. For sure. David says, got a Panasonic i5 VCR with manual audio level controls for recording. It's a Panasonic that I've got here. It's a Panasonic OmniVision i5 stereo that has that capability of actually skipping ads, which was brand new. It's a VCR that I purchased like in 1999 or something like that. Gordon says, Solar Cycle 25 is about to start. Cannot wait. If you get yours, we'll be waiting to hear and talk. Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk on the bands. Man. The worst part, Dodge, is I've never been a big fan of Rush. Joshua says, I just miss all old shortwave stations on my Sony ICF 2010. Good old days. Yeah. Yeah. Really crazy. The very first music video on MTV was Buggles' Video Killed the Radio Star. I remember the very first, and I'm pretty sure it's that, the very first music video on Much Music here in Canada was Tina Turner's What's Love Got to Do with It. Joe, somebody on Newhouse. Nice to have you on board, my friend. It is fun, Tanner Run, to be able to hear stations from thousands of miles away, absolutely. 1985, I was which is the equivalent of 9th grade, something like that. Sean has been around. He told Tesla to shock the world. Oh god. Oh really, Keegan? Oh man. I'm 50. I got big 50 years old this year. Yeah. So hey guys, hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll be saying goodbye for tonight. Thanks for all of those that have donated. Hope you enjoyed today's show. The next show will be next Friday at that is August the 30th. So the last show for August already. And that will be next Friday, August 30th, just before September starts, and just before the here in North America, Labor Day weekend. So I guess next week maybe we should do a pirate special. There might be a lot of pirate stations for the Labor Day weekend in U.S. and Canada. So kind of interesting. So take care, everybody, and nice to have you on board as usual. Without you guys, there wouldn't be no show. We wouldn't be here having fun. Have fun with your radios and listen to the bands. You never know what can be on the air. So see you next Friday. Take care, my friends. Love you all. Stay safe. And bye-bye.